Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Flow with the Grow podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Dawn, and life update. We're supposed to be closing in on a house today, but, today is Monday, September 25th. We were supposed to close. I believe I mentioned that on last week's episode, but I had to get pushed back one day. So we're now closing the day that this is getting released, Tuesday, September 26th. And we are doing the walkthrough tonight, though. The final walkthrough, doing all that, and then officially closing on Tuesday. And I am so stoked, so excited. It's nice because we have the rest of October to finish packing. And since we don't have to be out of this townhome until the end of October, it gives us some time, which is nice. I've been packing here and there. A couple of days I really went to town on our garage and going through stuff, getting rid of stuff. And so it's been nice to kind of declutter, and I'm going to continue that. But yeah, we got some time. Don't have to have like one specific weekend or a day or two where we have to be out in anytime soon, at least until the end of the month of October. So that's nice. And then in case you tuned into last week's episode where there was one of our neighbor guys would check his mailbox every 10-15 minutes with a flashlight, I have become hyper aware and just noticed it more and more. And yeah, he still does it. So I don't know, maybe there's some short-term memory loss. Maybe there's some health concerns. I don't know the situation, but I just have never seen anything like that before. So there's that update. It's still happening. And actually one day I was on a call and within 30 minutes, he came out 7 times. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, today's episode, I wanted to share a little message that kind of came to me recently, and I want to share that. And then also, I have never done this before, I don't think, on this podcast, but I want to share some specific books and people that I have listened to, followed, read their books as a means of working on myself and personal growth and kind of where it first started. I'll kind of go into that, where that personal development journey started happening, and also where and why I believe this podcast kind of came into fruition, the idea behind the podcast and where I wanted to go with it and topics I wanted to do and talk about and such. So I'm going to talk about that today. But first, here's that message. And I like sharing this. I shared it on my social media, but I like sharing it just because I never know who maybe needs it at this time. And there was someone that did comment saying that she needed it to hear that. And so, yeah, just kind of wanted to share it just in case you're listening and you're someone that needs it, or maybe in the future you'll need a reminder. So you can kind of keep this in the back of your mind. It's that sometimes we must step back before we step forward again. Sometimes life has seasons of uncertainty, highs, and lows. And sometimes we feel frustrated, we can feel lost, we can feel unsure, and sometimes we don't have the clarity that we want. But then I remember that being and feeling lost is also a part of the journey. And this is growth. And accepting and remembering this is flowing with this growth despite the hard days. And sometimes we need to be reminded to be intentional with finding moments of reconnection to self, find joy in the mundane and hardships, and access gratitude. So there's going to be times in our life where we feel lost, we feel uncertain, we feel like we could be doing more, or maybe we should be doing something else, whether it's a career or it's hobbies, just whatever it is day to day. Sometimes we feel like we don't have the clarity that we want, so we feel lost, and then there's that worry behind it. But then just reminding ourselves that this actually is just a part of life. It's a part of the journey. It's going to happen. And so then trying to be intentional with finding moments of reconnecting to yourself. Maybe it's going on a walk. Maybe it's taking a few deep breaths. Maybe it's meditating. Maybe it's being out in nature. Maybe it's reading a book or journaling. Maybe it's dancing. And then to find joy in the mundane and really in the maybe not boring times of life, but the day-to-day of every day, same thing every single day. And even through the hard times. And then being able to access gratitude within yourself. And just remember that if you are going through it, you are also growing through it. All right. And so one of the things that has always helped me kind of persevere or to get my mind right and reconnect to myself and reconnect to self-growth and having a better perspective on life and on hardships and certain situations is to focus on self-growth and personal development, and to focus on doing things that's going to really fuel my brain and fuel the perspective that I want in life. Currently, it's been hard for me to sit down and read books just because I don't make the time for it. I'm sure there's times within my day I could be like, you know what, 5 minutes, I'm going to read a book. But I usually listen to podcasts, I listen to Audible, and every now and then, maybe on the weekends, like on a Sunday, I'll sit down and read, and I'm wanting to do more of that. But reading and YouTube was really the first dive into and kind of an open door. It was like kind of the doorway for me to experiencing personal growth. And I say experience because the experience of it wowed me. It was like I had never felt how I felt when I really dove into really working on myself and being intentional with reading and listening to things, whether it was about leadership or whether it was about spirituality. I don't know why that word is so hard right now. Spiritual health. We'll go with that. So whenever someone asks, well, what do you do for personal growth, or what things do you listen to? And it really depends. Like maybe you want to grow your skills and grow more in leadership. Maybe it's finances. Maybe it is relationships. Maybe it's your outlook on life and wanting to have a more positive perspective. Like it all really depends on what it is. And maybe it's physical fitness or nutrition. It just kind of depends. But really, like for me, I'm always constantly learning about physical fitness and nutrition and all of that. But what really sets the tone for how I want my life to look like and how it really started when I first got into personal growth was listening to things that fed my mind with positivity, and not just like positivity all the time. Actually, looking back, I realized that maybe I was a part of toxic positivity because I was so positive all the time, but it's okay to not be positive all the time. It was like I don't know if I was really shutting down emotions and feelings, but it was almost like when I would get angry at something or frustrated, I would feel bad for feeling that way. When really, like, we're, as a human, we experience all different emotions, and it's okay if we need to healthfully express those. Okay, so when I first started, and looking back at what really like helps fuel my mind and my soul is listening or reading to things that expand my mind, and really in a way that helps me see the world and hard times with a silver lining, or almost like there's a reason for everything, even the hard times, and you might not realize it until later on. Like you might not make those connections and connect those dots until later on in life. And then you can kind of look back and realize that it all makes sense. And here's what you learned. And it's really thinking about what can you learn from every situation, good and bad. So I don't really know what to label that as necessarily when it comes to personal growth. It's more like mindset. I guess mindset for life. There we go. Mindset for life, and through the hard times and through it all, really. So let's go way back now. Not way back, but I was in college and I had joined a online fitness coaching business community. And one of the things that they really it was important to them was personal development. I was like, what the hell is personal development? I have no idea what this is. And the team that I was on, or like the group, whatever that I was in, and this is one aspect for, maybe you know this company, maybe not, I'm not going to mention it, but not in this episode anyway. But there's good things about this company that has helped me evolve as a person and has really made an impact on my health, either in a negative way or in a positive way. One of the positive ways was through personal development. And the first person that we ever listened to, and it was a YouTube series that we had access to and that we did. I think it was on YouTube. Yeah, it was. But John Maxwell, he is like the top leading leadership expert in the world. And he made a complete huge difference on my life. And the things that he talked about, I was like blown away. I was almost like I had an epiphany. And I remember feeling like that and like I think I even told my mom once, I was like, I feel like I'm having an epiphany with all of this, with it like at the time of my life. And like I said, I was in college, and I think it was more of like a workshop type where he talked about each law. And then I'm pretty sure it was also a book. So I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty positive that it was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. You would think I remember since it made such an impact in my life, but I'm like 90% sure that that's it. The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I will put these all in my show notes so that if you would like to check these out, you definitely can. So like I said, he was the first. And then along with that, and I think was first John Maxwell's laws, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And then after that, we listened to Danny Johnson. Now, when I ask people now if anyone knows Danny Johnson, no one knows who that is. If I say John Maxwell, it's a little bit more. I feel like not as much people know, more people now than they used to, that's for sure. But I still kind of get like, no, I don't know who that is. But anyways, the second one, Danny Johnson. And the one that we really dove into was her personality type one. I don't remember the name of it. I believe I remember now. So it was called GEMS, GEMS was what she called it. And it's kind of like how you hear about other personality tests and such, but really this is exploring human interaction, how people understand the world, how people communicate, really helping you to have better communication with people based on their personality and having better relationships, and then how it can help your business or whatever career that you're in, and even in relationships and in friendships. And I really believe that this really helps me become a much better communicator and a much better conversation starter person, conversationist, I don't know. And I actually started to enjoy talking to people, having conversations. And even to this day, I still use the same acronym that I'm going to tell you. And by the way, there are four personality gems: Emerald, Pearl, Ruby, and Sapphire. And it's kind of like if you look that up and you kind of read a little snippet of each, you will know exactly which one you are, most likely. So this communication starter, this is an acronym that you can use to help you create rapport with people, to help you build relationships, to help you practice conversations if that's something that you want to work on or need to work on. This acronym is FORM. Form. And if you are in the entrepreneurial space, or if you are very growth minded, you probably have an acronym that you've maybe used in the past, because I've heard multiple ones now since I've learned this back in college. So FORM. F stands for family. O stands for occupation. R stands for relationships. And M stands for message. So with F, family, you can, and do this tonight, practice on your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, friend, person you're talking to, anyone. Practice and see how this goes. So first ask them about their family. So if I have someone and they come up to me and we're like, oh, hi, how are you? You can ask them about family, and you can, for me, I always kind of change up F and O sometimes, but ask someone about their family. Do they have a family? Do they have kids? Do they anything about their family? And then O, which for me, I feel like is easier and more genuine to start with for some reason. And that is O, occupation. So their job. What do you do for a living? And then you can go and ask them, do you like it? Do you not like it? Why or why not? How long have you been doing it for? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And all of these questions are kind of leading you into building that rapport. And then R stands for, what did I say, relationships? I meant recreation. So what do you like to do for fun? And then asking more and more questions. Why do you like doing X? Like, why does that bring you happiness and joy? Things like that. And then moving into your message. So what is your message? And again, this was more so from a business standpoint. So going into asking them for whatever the question is, maybe it's asking them for a referral or like connection. Like maybe you want to connect them with someone else. Like it doesn't have to be, it's not like a salesy thing. It's just a conversation starter. And by the end, what is your results? What is, not your result, but what is like your goal with that conversation, and what's the message that you want to get across? And maybe it's just setting up a time to connect again and have another conversation, whatever it is. But that has really helped me with talking to people and becoming better at having conversations, starting conversations, and knowing what questions to ask when I'm trying to meet new people. So Danny Johnson and John Maxwell are my first two kind of jump starters into the personal development type world. And they both have, I believe Danny has books. I know she has a bunch of like YouTube and videos and stuff, but John Maxwell, he has a ton of books, mostly on leadership, but anyone can benefit from it. Highly recommend looking them up. Now I'm going to go through some books that have really made an impact in my life in one way or another. And this is in no particular order, except for this first one. My very first book into personal development was You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. That also wowed me. I feel like that was the beginning of me really embodying who I am and living confidently as who I am and living as authentically as possible, knowing that and believing that I have a lot to offer to this world and to people. And also letting go of that self-doubt, like how to stop doubting yourself so that you can live your best life and do the things that you want to do. I think this is also one that really expanded my mindset and just really helps me to shift my mindset and kind of helped me to not be so focused on negative aspects of life and looking on the bright side of situations and finding the opportunity of growth and finding the lesson that may be had in a certain situation. So if you are someone you really want to work on yourself, your self-doubt, any insecurities, wanting to have a shift into a more positive mindset, this is a great book. Now, this is in no specific order here, but the second one I'm going to tell you about is The Energy Bus. And I'm going to try and briefly go through these. But The Energy Bus, 10 Rules to Fuel Your Life, Work, and Team with Positive Energy. This is by John Gordon. It is a simple, easy read, and it keeps you engaged the entire time. Really, it's in a nutshell here, it's about a guy that he has such a negative outlook, just very negative person inside and out, and his marriage is failing. He's failing at his job, like he's going to lose his job. And so he ends up, his car, something happens to his vehicle. He can't take it. He's all mad about that. And a bus comes. So he hops on the bus, and this bus driver has 10 rules for the bus, but it's very connected to life. Like it's not just rules for the bus, but it's rules for life and how to handle challenges. And it's enlightening and inspiring. Any of these books really is for everyone, but if you want to be a leader, if you have a team yourself within business or within anything in your career, if you're in sales, which who isn't in sales? Like we're in the sales of people, really. Managers, team leaders, like again, really anyone. There's a lot of actionable strategies, a lot of insight. And in the beginning here, it says, the Energy Bus provides a powerful plan for overcoming common life and work obstacles and bringing out the best in yourself and your team. When you get on the Energy Bus, you'll enjoy the ride of your life. Second one I'm going to talk about is called The Universe Has Your Back. This is more of a spiritual type of book. And to be honest, I haven't fully read all of it, maybe like half or a little bit less, but it had a huge impact in my life. Like just the things that she talked about. It's by Gabrielle Bernstein. I'm not sure exactly how to say that. So the universe has your back, transform fear to faith. So it's again about just having trust and faith that the universe has your back, or maybe whatever that higher power is, that there is a higher power and that it has your back. I'm going to share something that Rachel Platten actually said about the book. She says, I absolutely love The Universe Has Your Back. What makes it so incredibly special is Gabby's honesty about difficult experiences and how she learned and healed from them. By sharing these deeply personal stories, she allows us to feel that our own failures and shame can be brought into the light. This book is a refreshing and soul-nourishing read that I will go back to again and again. She also has these deck of cards, The Universe Has Your Back cards, and I believe also Miracles Now is another one that she has. But I've used those where I would draw a card, kind of pull a card for before or after I meditate, or maybe each day you could pull it just to kind of give you a little bit of inspiration and just a little message for your day. This is where she also talks about having a sign. And I decided to use this where I basically you get to decide what that sign is and what it means, whether it's numbers or an image or like whatever it is. And then again, you get to decide what it means. And so for me, I had really declared to the universe that my sign was going to be a butterfly. And so there have been times in my life where I basically demand from the universe that I need to see a butterfly to know that I'm on the right path, or like whatever it is that I ask. And then I just kind of let that go. And then bam, butterfly shows up. And now I know some might be skeptical of that, whatever. But the point, like the thing is that you have to, this spiritual woo-woo type stuff won't work unless you believe in it. If you don't believe in it, it's not going to work. It's not going to do anything for you. So it's just being open to it and then having that shift in mindset. All right. Not going to get too much into that. Next, let's talk about Eckhart Tolle. So I have two books. Number one, the first one I read is A New Earth. And that really opened my eyes to more of like an awakening, quote, awakening to your life's purpose. And that's what the book is called, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. I will say it, like for me, it was kind of a complicated read just because I would read a paragraph and in order to comprehend it, I would have to reread it over and over again to really understand what he's saying. Like it's really kind of psychologically a mind fuck in a way. Like it really challenges the way that you see things and view things and challenges different ideas. So again, I had to reread some things in order to comprehend, but when I got it, when I comprehended it, it was like, whoa. If you're wanting to learn more about ego, about state of consciousness, about living in the now, personal happiness, ending conflict and suffering, living a, I guess, more fulfilling life, then this one would be a good book for you. And then also to go along with that, the other book I was going to say was The Power of Now. I have not completely finished this one yet. Well, I haven't finished it yet at all. But there is also, again, a lot of paragraphs that I had to reread, and really transforms your thinking and your perspective, especially on the now, the past, the present, the future. He talks about time. So again, those books more so about presence, consciousness, kind of a, like in the Power of Now book, it says a guide to spiritual enlightenment. So if you feel called to read something about that, those two would be great books to read. And then just a few more here. So The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is a great book. I actually have a tattoo from that, and it says, if we're unwilling to fail, then we're unwilling to succeed. Now, I still believe that to an extent, but I also believe that there is no such thing as failure. But I believe that wait, what did I say it said? Oh yeah, if we're unwilling to fail, then we're unwilling to succeed. So also that kind of means to me, like if we're unwilling to learn, then we're unwilling to succeed. If we're unwilling to suck at something, then we're unwilling to succeed. If we're unwilling to be messy and shitty at something before we get better, then we're unwilling to succeed. Since I brought up that tattoo, I also have another tattoo from the book A New Earth, the one that I just mentioned, and it says Ananda, not Amanda. If you see my arm, it's not Amanda. I need to maybe fix that someday or something. I don't know. It's because the cursive makes it look like Amanda, but it's Ananda. And it means the bliss of being. the joy of being. So when you listen or read A New Earth, now this is coming back to me. This is where I truly felt the joy and practiced, because I also meditated when I read this book, the joy of being. It's even so hard to explain this concept. It's not just being yourself. It's not just being who you are and living authentically as you can. No, it's not just that. It's really embodying your physical body where you're sitting and feeling that in deep in your soul, and in just you just being sitting there. Maybe you're walking. It's the blissfulness of that. And then one other tattoo that I got from a book, because I decided, you know what, people get tattoos when they go to different states, countries, whatever. I'm like, I'm going to get a tattoo every time I read a book to remind myself of that. And I wasn't going to mention this book, but since I have a tattoo and I'm talking about tattoos, here we go. Joy is with you. That is a simple reminder that no matter what situation I'm in, no matter what emotion I'm feeling at the time, joy is always with me and I have access to it and I can access that. The book that this came from is called Emotional Detox: 7 Steps to Release Toxicity and Energize Joy by, I believe it's Sherianna Boyle. I started this a while ago and I'm actually just a little bit over halfway. Just like I'm in the middle of 5 Netflix shows. I'm in the middle of 5 different books. So yeah, I really do need to go back and read that. So I guess briefly about this book. It's not just if you're struggling emotionally. This can be for if you're struggling emotionally or not. But she talks about how most people view a detox as a physical experience. But what we don't realize is that our physical bodies aren't the only things that need to be cleansed in order to return to a healthy state. When we're unable to process our emotions, they become toxic to ourselves and those around us. And then she talks about how then it's time for an emotional detox. And then how we can return to our natural energized state. It's a reset for the soul, flushes out negative feelings, clears a path for new habits and behaviors, and energizing us to embrace love, acceptance, and joy. Now, rewind, going back to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. This one is a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. So this is by Mark Manson, and what he talks about is that we've been told that positive thinking is the key to a happy, rich life. And he says, fuck positivity. Let's be honest, shit is fucked, and we have to live with it. In the book, he shows us how to stop trying to be positive all the time so we can truly become happier, and better people. He tells it like it is, very honest, raw, refreshing, and honest. And he really makes the argument that improving our lives hinges not on our ability to turn lemons into lemonade, but on learning to stomach lemons better. Human beings are flawed and limited. Not everyone can be extraordinary. There are winners and losers in society. This is a quote I'm reading from his book. And some of it is not fair or your fault. He advises us to get to know our limitations and accept them. Once we embrace our fears, faults, and uncertainties, once we stop running and avoiding and start confronting painful truths, we can begin to find the courage, perseverance, honesty, responsibility, curiosity, and forgiveness that we seek. There are only so many things we can give a fuck about, so we need to figure out which ones really matter. While money is nice, caring about what you do with your life is better, because true wealth is about experience. So a lot of real talk, a lot of practical and realistic words for your life, and a much different perspective, but one that really also helped shape my mindset into what it is today. Life isn't meant to go your way all of the time, and that's okay. One of the things that he says is that when we give too many fucks, when we choose to give a fuck about everything, then we feel as though we are perpetually entitled to feel comfortable and happy at all times. That's when life fucks us. So, a lot of F words in there. All right, another one I read a while ago back in college was Mastering Your Mean Girl. This one is by Melissa Ambrosini. The Nobiest Guide to Silencing Your Inner Critic and Becoming Wildly Wealthy, Fabulously Healthy, and Bursting with Love. So she really dives into like that little voice that's always inside your head telling you that you're not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, like whatever it is, that's your mean girl. And she's doing the best that she can to keep you stuck, to keep you safe, to keep you too scared to go after the life that you've always imagined. And I remember after reading this book, this was when I like basically promised to myself that I can't let that mean girl talk me out of doing the things that I want to do. Like I need to go for the things that I want to do in my life. So she talks about all the limiting beliefs and fears that held her back and really how to overcome them. And lastly, Girl Boss. Also one of my earlier books that I read. And this is by Sophia Amoruso, I believe is the name of it. And I know that she like created a huge fashion empire. I think it's called Nasty Gal. Yeah, Nasty Gal. Oh my gosh. And actually, I'm just looking this up, but her story is a movie now. Holy shit, on Netflix. I'm going to have to look that up and watch because that's pretty cool. Anyways, yeah, Girl Boss. So she was a rebellion, she was broke, and she decided to start selling vintage clothing online as her passion. And then her retail fashion empire begins to grow. She becomes a businesswoman, and then she starts to realize the value and difficulties of being the boss of her own life. So she really talks a lot about how she got everything, her story basically, but then also kind of paving the way to success, how she did it in more of like an unconventional aspect, I would say, and to not it's not going to be a perfect straight line road to success. It's going to be windy, it's going to be unique, and even a lot of naysayers along the way. And then lastly, one other person that I'm going to say because I don't remember the name of this course. I'm going to try and look this up right now, but Tony Robbins. There's so many people who don't know who Tony Robbins is, but you should know who Tony Robbins is. He does not call himself a motivational speaker, even though I think he basically kind of is. From what I've listened to, he is really all about using your physical body to create the feeling and emotion that you desire and that you want. So like I said, I don't remember exactly the name of that course that I took, but if I can remember it, I will definitely put it in the show notes. But just look him up. He has some good stuff on YouTube. I know that he has books and he maybe has a podcast. I'm not exactly sure, but he's great. Amazing. So start filling your mind and soul with the things how you want your life to be like, the perspective that you want. Start filling them and being intentional with this, because just like we have to be intentional with our fitness and nutrition, we must also be intentional with what we feed our brains. And the reality is that we are always either intentionally or unintentionally allowing things that we see and hear set the course in your life and shape your life and your perspective in life. Everything you allow intentionally and unintentionally will at some point or somehow shape your mindset, your perspective. And every day we feed our minds with different images, advertisements, the freaking news, food, commercials, words. So it's important to not only be intentional with our food, and like I said, fitness, but also be intentional about what we take in mentally. And you can ask the question, what did I or what will I allow into my mind today? All right, that's it. I will throw out Mel Robbins. I just thought of Mel Robbins. That just kind of came to my mind. I've heard of her TED Talks, and she has a book called The 5-Second Rule that I also started that I didn't completely finish, where basically she's very much about the science of why things work. And so the 5-second rule she explains, and in any of her books, you'll find that she explains why scientifically it works. So the 5-second rule, we count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's say you want to get up in the morning and go for a run. You count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you go. Don't think any further. You just go. Get up and go. Kind of like a rocket launches, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Same concept. And she has other things out there, the high five habit, and a lot more. Okay, another one, Jay Shetty. For podcasts, I have been loving his conversations with people. Jay Shetty, also another good one. All right, that's that. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I truly hope that in some way, shape, or form, I help you become a better version of yourself. I help you grow through life, through the ups and downs, and help you to flow with it all. Because you're not alone. Peace, love, and joy. Don't know where that came from, but have a good rest of your day. All right, that is all. Have a good rest of your day, night, week, weekend. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.